I am so excited to be joined by some awesome people. It's your girl Ken, better known as Kenya Abbott Jr., since everybody seems to know my whole government. But today I'm going live with Facebook with Podcast Detroit. We down here recording at Detroit Shipping Company. I have some fire guests, people that's out here really living not only in a purpose but in passion and out here really revolutionizing our community. So I'm just going to start off right now and go around the table and let y'all know who's joining me, if you can't already tell by the cameras. I have my brother and dear friend, Ken. What's going on, Ken?
Hey, not much, man. Thank you for having me on here today,
Man, thank you for joining. I have my best friend forever, one of two, Miss Lowe. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Ken.
Thanks for joining. I have my co-worker and new friend. He don't even know I've adopted him into my life. Ben out here representing what we representing. United Way.
Yeah. What up, though?
I got my cousin Courtney. How you doing, baby love?
Hey, cuz. What up, though?
I got Rod. It's a lot of cast technicians at the table. I thought I'd go ahead and represent that. What's going on, Rod?
What's happening? Even though I ain't make it to graduation, it's still all love. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Detroit. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. And last but not least, I have Kiera. Hey, baby.
Hey, what's up, Kenya? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming out. And so, I mean, we just kind of talking. I told everybody I was coming full force with PoliticKen this season. I really want real people that's out here at the ground level at the table talking to me about issues that matter, particularly politics in Detroit, because a lot of times people think because I'm not a politician or because I ain't sitting at no table, I can't speak politics. But politics integrates every part of our life. I mean, from the taxes we pay on our houses, when we go out the door, the air you breathe, you know what I'm saying? The education that we were afforded, even the opportunities posted. Like, what's our minimum wage? How much they gonna pay me when I get that degree and come back home? So I think it's important for all of us to be included in these conversations. And right now, I just want to backtrack. Season finale of season 1, we was talking about organizing around the vote and understanding the full political process. In Michigan, a lot of people felt did good. We got the blue wave. How are y'all feeling about Detroit politics today? It's March 2019. Are we satisfied with what's going on in the city of Detroit right now?
Ooh, satisfied is a strong word.
Right.
It is.
But definitely, I would say even more than the blue wave, we had that green wave come through Michigan, and that really showed what people could really get accomplished. You know, who would have thought that today you could carry 2.5 ounces of marijuana anywhere you want to go and not get in any trouble when there's people still sitting in jail cells right now for way less. So, you know, it's definitely a change in times. You can see when you really put your energy into politics, you can get results that you really want to get.
Yes.
You know?
That's true.
How's y'all feeling? Hold on real quick, though, Rod. Can you tell people who you represent? Because I don't think people know the type of mover and shaker you with.
We can save that for a little bit later. Yeah, we can get to that down the line. I'd rather voice my opinion on my own right.
Oh, I hear that. I
Don't
hear
have to
that.
warn. Don't have to
For
warn.
a second.
This is a neutral
So
location.
anybody, how else are y'all feeling? I know some of y'all, you know, hands-on with politics or not, but how y'all feeling? Like, do y'all feel like the students or the youth are going to benefit? Who do y'all think that the city represents right now? Is it helping all Detroiters or is it just some Detroiters?
It's definitely not helping our communities. It's helping downtown. It's really not in the schools. They act like it, but it's not. And just from working in schools, being a coach, seeing that hands-on, that the teachers are not really there for your kids, it's definitely not helping the communities at all.
Who should we be holding accountable for that, though? Like, is that the governor? Is that the mayor? Is that
Us.
okay?
Local-
Talk
local-
about
There you
it.
go.
So,
Let's talk about it.
so local government starts with the local government. I'm not a city official, but I work closely with some government officials. And the thing is, I work on a broader regional level. We're a tri-county area, which means I oversee 3 different counties of things. So our education is different from our local municipality education. But then when the thing is, we still have to get out here and educate our citizens on how to get out here and really voice our word. The thing is, a lot of people have a lot of fight or pushback against these bike lanes or a lot of non-motorized planning. But if we as citizens don't go to the meetings to talk about and voice our opinions,
Say that again.
how do we change the fact that we don't really want to see it there, but we want to see this money spent in a different way?
But do they tell us about those meetings?
I mean, it's
And so-
you got to do a little legwork, definitely. To
But why?
Because
If I'm getting a bike lane down the street, why
it's
you
really-
didn't come knock
it's
on my
really
door
simple.
and tell me?
Can I put a semicolon
Community
on it?
benefits, maybe.
Wait, I want to put a semicolon on that because what I was going to say next is every time I really have the opportunity, I make sure I challenge my fellow planners who are 9 times out of 10 really don't look the same color as me. I challenge all my planners that just how politicians that sit in these seats, that whatever election somebody wins, politicians are out there pounding the pavement. And us as planners need to pound the pavement so that we can get the real truth of what our citizens really need. But sometimes if those people, the opposite color of me, have to walk in communities that are the same color as me, they might be afraid. So sometimes they're timid. We have all this quote-unquote data, GIS work, stuff like this, that we know where the problems lie, where the crime lies, where this is that. We have these data and trends. But we act like we don't know how to fix it. To go out there and talk to people and tell them when to come talk about these things, I don't think that's hard. But
And I think
making
it
that
happens.
change-
I think because more times than not, I've been to over 250 community meetings in the
Yes.
past year, and overwhelmingly is a group of older females, like 60 to 100.
Yes,
And
literally.
Period.
So your grandmother is showing up, your aunties are showing up. It's just a matter of getting us younger people involved because they are walking, they are putting these flyers on people's houses. But how many times have you gone into your grandma's house, picked up a flyer, and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to this meeting"? Like, it's
Never.
extremely rare that
Right.
people show up our age in these meetings, and that's really what has to happen.
Yes.
And when they do show up, they do have a tremendous voice because they definitely listen. They listen to the younger generation. They want you to be involved.
Yes.
They want you to, but it's
Yes.
just a matter of getting that word out better, and that's always a process.
I've been to a couple of the meetings, but it is challenging to be able to remain active when you're also kind of in the millennial generation, still trying to work, still trying to find your place, trying to maintain a household that you're establishing as well. And I kind of feel you on like not really knowing. I didn't really know that the bike lanes were coming until they were being built.
Yes.
Until I was driving down Cass. I went to Wayne State, and I was driving down Cass, and I'm like, what is this big red spot in the middle of the street?
Cass popping.
And then they were done
Cass
with
Street.
it, and I was just like, I can't park here anymore because of the claustrophobia I feel when trying to get out of my car, like I'm about to get hit by a bus. So I didn't get an email, I didn't get a text message, I didn't, y'all can send me an Amber Alert when somebody's child goes missing in 3 counties over, but when we're instituting a new bike lane, I didn't know anything about that until it was happening. And then we do kind of feel left out. Then we do start to feel like, oh, this is gentrification happening right underneath us. So I feel you on that. And I would like to be more active, but with those meetings, like, they're not at convenient times. I know some of the ones within my own community, they'll have them at noon on a Wednesday. I gotta go work,
right. We gotta go to work.
and then
It's not even a convenient system.
send
I
it-
mean,
yeah.
it's definitely needs for improvement, but you have to start and at least like reach out to these people because they will
I
come
agree.
to you. You know,
Yes.
they will 9 times out of 10 they want to reach people our age. That's
Yes.
really the biggest.
Then
missing
text
link.
me. Don't
No.
send anything in my mail.
And they got our numbers.
Email me.
They got our numbers.
But
But if you
watch this.
started getting texts to
Yeah.
meetings, you
Text
wouldn't.
me.
You gonna be like unsubscribed.
Well, I'd rather them
Stop.
call than Sally
Absolutely
Mae.
not.
Absolutely not.
I get coupons text to me. I want you to text me.
It could be more simple to that. It could be more simple to that. Just like when they come and want to clean the streets, they put out signs a week
Yep,
before. that
true,
say,
exactly.
Don't park next Tuesday.
And everybody
at the
know
end
not
of the
to
day,
park.
A week before, just like election, actually in the ordinances, everybody ordinance is the amount of time that you can put your signs out before the election and the amount of times you can have them out after the election. So then you have to actually put your signs out and pick them up in a time frame. So this is the same time frame that they use when they come clean the streets, when they come do a lot of other things where they put these signs in the right of way that's technically not yours, but the city's. And then they actually are letting you know and give you information for something that's happening in the future. So it's simple things like that can happen that could change and that we can try to push and change our leadership to get more voice out here. But sometimes it's all about who's in the administration part. Like what is the mindset of the administration, and that's how stuff runs.
That's a good point.
Well, Ben brought up a good little point about, Cass redevelopment. We're talking about the street.
Correct.
And so I want to talk a little bit about this whole remark that got brought up on the Oscars, you said.
Yeah,
I've been out here
Oscars.
lying on what show
Academy
it was. They said Shinola was saving Detroit. And it came out, so I was watching the Oscars that night, and I didn't even peep it. That's how, he said it so cool in a way that you wouldn't even notice that it was said, but somebody caught it, and it went viral, and we start seeing it. How do y'all feel about that? Is Shinola saving Detroit? It kind of reminds me of whole, Duggan coming through and saving the city and all of that.
Yeah.
What is this narrative that's being painted? Nationally, because this is a national show that everybody's tuning in to watch people win some awards. How do y'all? Is Shinola saving
I'm
Detroit?
offended.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think it kind of represents the overall state of the city, really, when you have someone who's not even from here telling people, all over the world that Shinola is saving Detroit, when you and I both know, we know who really is out here in the street and who's really bringing true change to the communities, and it's not the companies like Shinola.
Correct.
So I just think that it's really a slap in the face.
Yes.
But it's kind of like a dog whistle call for other people to come here and invest and get
Yes.
involved in our
And that's
Wish I had a
absolutely
bell.
what it is. It's
It's right there.
It's
Right
green
here,
light.
money is
It's
the
definitely
reason.
the green light for corporate donation. I mean, but that's the ultimate, that's ultimately how you build a city, is getting
Correct.
people to come in and fund us. For a long time, we got starved of our resources, and that's how we got into this. But it didn't just happen overnight. We were starved systematically of our resources, and that's how we got into the situation. So bringing those resources back, I feel like when they use those big corporate, anything to kind of draw people in, it's just bringing back the resources that we should have had.
But
I
those
just got a
resources
question.
are not used effectively.
So wait, yeah, correct. Because my thing is,
Because
if-
DPS is the only school system that is hiring teachers that are
DPSCD.
that are not certified.
Yeah,
Like,
you want to.
why are we doing that? It's not used effectively. Like, we get it. Downtown is real nice. But you step a couple blocks over and it's not. It's
Correct.
like,
Yeah.
what are we really doing?
I think that it's really emotionally triggering for me, especially that statement, because it brings up a decade-long discussion about race and class and equality. And so I feel like I live in two different Detroits as a young black millennial. I work downtown. I've seen the hustle and bustle. I like being able to go to Shake Shack in the midst of my city. But in being here my whole life, I also know about black Detroit. I know about the people who are often overlooked, who are working within the community, who don't get the recognition, who don't get appreciated, and have been here. And then you kind of have many people who were a part of the whole white flight, when many people started to leave the city, when Coleman Young became mayor, coming back and reclaiming property that's been within their families, opening new business, opening up community gardens. Then you have these big corporations coming in, buying up property, having that money to be able to have the startup costs to be able to do something really, really big. And then other people are able to kind of establish businesses within that area that they're kind of revitalizing. It's sad because we want to see the city revitalized. We want to be able to feel safe walking down streets and be able to go inside businesses, but then gentrification is very much a part of it. And I know I had somebody who was an urban planner that basically said when revitalizing the city, gentrification is inevitable. It's not anything you can avoid. We want to feel safe. Even when I think the Super Bowl came here, there was a rumor going around that there are buses going around picking up all the homeless people to be able to. I didn't know if it was true or not, but it kind of happened. But I mean, it's kind of hard to say it, but you see a whole bunch of homeless people asking you for money in the midst of this big celebration. People feel like it doesn't look good. But is there a better way to be able to solve it instead of kind of just putting a Band-Aid over a really big wound that the city of Detroit has? And
Yes.
I feel like comments like Shinola is saving Detroit are really emotionally triggering, because I know my timeline blew up after it happened. I didn't even watch the Academy Awards. I didn't know who won Best Picture, but I knew somebody said some mess about Shinola saving Detroit.
Yes.
Within 5 minutes of them saying it. Because I feel like there's a Detroit pride in those who are really invested into the city. And I'm speaking specifically from the black Detroit experience. That stuff really, really offends us. But I don't necessarily know that we always have the vehicles to be able to communicate and to be able to, I guess, get the resources so that we can make sure that we're a part of those that are being recognized as saving Detroit.
Yes, that's true. So
I keep hearing the word gentrification go around, and I remember that coming up in season 1. We talked about gentrifying. I actually got into a heated debate. This is why I do not post on social media, because people do not just like to think outside the box. But I got called out, y'all, because it was these 2 older black women. I knew they were some sisters just by the language, and I'm like, I'm in the same fight y'all in. I ain't trying to argue. But it was around the idea that I had said we need to stop talking about gentrification and become our own gentrifiers. And it got so do you know what this word means? It was just, I know they were screaming at me via the response. But even going back to your point being about this whole idea that, we want to feel safe. You want to you don't want to live in a poor community. We want our youth to have better. We want to do it. But it's when we start to take the language and we start to shift and revolutionize the language that they putting on us, it's we pulling each other down. I want to know, and I know I ain't asked y'all this before y'all came, but y'all got me want to think about it. What would your town or your city look like if you was the gentrifier? How will we be changing our city for a better? Like, what are the things that we want to see as millennials? One, because we here. What is it that we want to see in this city? Talk to me, please, somebody.
I mean, we want the downtown, but I want the downtown in the neighborhood.
Yes.
So what that look like?
So I got you. As an urban planner and
Go ahead, Ken. Hit us with the zoning rules.
No zoning, nothing. I mean, my thing is I want people to be more educated on two specific words, actually. So other than gentrification, I want people to realize what urban is. You know, my thing is this is a structure of a neighborhood. You know, you have urban, you have rural, you have suburban. You know, these are just structures of neighborhood. You know, I'm tired of people associating urban with the color of skin. Yeah. You know, how much money you make.
Urban where?
That's exactly what we're doing.
This is what we're doing. So even with gentrification, we have to learn and educate what gentrification is. My thing is the first thing I do is teach people ownership. If we own something, when people try to come take it, they have to what? Buy you. Yeah. But when you rent something, if the landlord says, oh, I'm going to get paid X amount, why would I have to re-sign anything? Because I'm going to get more money than I would have ever got from anybody living with me. So at the end of the day, if we start teaching ownership and start teaching people how to actually pay and own what they have or live in, my roof over my head is more important than anything that I wear. Absolutely. Period, point blank. Absolutely. So when you start learning how to prioritize certain things and then put things in certain places, then you will learn how to really not be gentrified to become the gentrifier. You see what I'm saying? So ownership is step one.
And that's creating wealth. That's all that is. Yes. Generational wealth. You have something, an asset passed down. Your property is an asset. Your land is an asset.
Yes.
You have education. You have entertainment. Those are all assets that we export out of our culture and don't get anything back from. So,
and Ken, I'm glad you touched on that because that's a good point. With being with New Era Detroit and also being a realtor as well, that's one of the things we focus on with our Come Black Home campaign is just educating people on the steps of ownership. Yes. You know, a lot of people don't even know what it takes to put a down payment down on a home. They don't even know the amount, especially millennials. Yes. You know, 36% of millennials have no idea what the first step of home ownership is. No. So we hold consistent ownership seminars, you know, with different financial counselors, credit repair. You know, a lot of us have hit up credit, you know, but we don't even know that you can still buy a house even if you don't have great credit. You know what I mean? There are other avenues to that. So I think that the education piece is very important. Yes, and I also feel like in regards to your question, Kenya, just putting more entertainment venues inside of the city, you know, more retail shops and hiring more Detroiters inside of the neighborhoods. Whenever we want to go out and have family fun, we have to go out to the Livonias, to the Novas. You know, where is it really for me to take my 1-year-old son and have a good time in the middle of the day? And feel safe. There's not really too many places like that. So.
But with the wealth building principles, I know that's a great point, I believe, but it wasn't really taught, I found, to my generation, especially growing up. You know, so we spent our 20s making a whole bunch of mistakes, and now we're in our 30s like, oh, let me get Credit Karma on my phone. You know, let me start paying off this debt so I can amass this wealth that everybody talking about I was supposed to have had at this point. Right. And it's embarrassing, but it's also it's the reality of it as well. And so as we talking about the bigger issue, like how do we put these wealth building principles inside of schools to be able to make sure that children, because I have white friends my same age who own multiple properties, own multiple homes. I even have, you know, if we really want to talk about it, I got black friends, but even that knowledge, it was kind of like restricted to their groups and their family. Like I'm talking about friends who grew up in Jack and Jill's, who grew up in Dale Teens, you know, all of that stuff. You know, they know that stuff. I didn't learn it until I started getting into my late 20s when I had to find it for myself, because with my family, it was more so about survival. It was more so about taking care of each other. And so me being like this next generation removed from that, actually being able to have, you know, some wiggle room, having some disposable income to actually save as opposed to like trying to pay for things, I'm learning a lot on my own that wasn't necessarily able to be taught to me. And so I wanted to share that. Because classism even exists within, I guess, our
for sure.
I'm going to wait to the appendix at the end to
so silly. So I want to go around because now, I mean, we done talked about a lot. What issues matter to y'all? And I want to go around the table. I want to hear from everybody. What issues matter? Like, because one of the things, you know, last season I was really pushing, you know, we always telling each other, go vote, go vote, go vote. But we don't educate ourselves before we vote. Most times out of
Absolutely.
10, we
Talk
probably
about
going there.
it.
I be like, oh, her name sound black. But even with that, that's
Vote
not
everybody
always
black.
right. And then, or I'm voting all Democrat when, you know, who taught us
Terrible.
that?
Can't even do that no more.
So we don't even educate ourselves prior. Then we go vote. But people always forget this piece after. It's the accountability piece for the person that you put in that position. Because if you don't ask for nothing, you ain't going to get nothing. And that's what black
if you
people...
don't know who to ask, you won't get it either. So if you
That's
ask
very
you
true.
barking up
That's
the
the
wrong tree.
problem.
You
And that's why black people feel like, oh, Barack Obama ain't do nothing for black people because we ain't asked him to do nothing for us. We thought because he was black, he was going to go in there and represent the hoes. And that's just not how... That's just... You're not going to represent the whole population. He's the president of the United States.
Correct.
Right.
What issues matter? What should we be holding politicians accountable for now? Because it's too many issues. We can't, I mean, it's so many. But at the top of the list, like, I want to know everybody's, like, top 3. And if you can't even do the top 3, you know, top 1. Because I know it's one that always come to my mind.
To me, a certain level of transparency. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, when you get a certain level, you don't know certain things that the level under you don't. So, I mean, at the end of the day, when we're talking about our financial budget or things like we're supposed to be putting money to,
Should be an app.
100-day plans, you know, things like that the government's saying they're doing, we should be able to see their schedule. I mean, my thing is, what is the schedule to get this project done? Where's the money actually rolling? You know, like, we have a tip schedule that we follow as being an MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. The one down here I don't represent is SIMCOG, and they run 7 counties down here, and they do a fabulous job at doing it, you know, but they have their stuff in order, you know, they have their things moving. And so why, and and if you call and ask them, they'll show you. See, that's what I'm saying. Why can't our politicians that's above them or our government officials actually be able to show us, like, if this is your 100-day plan, where are you at in your 100-day plan?
No, I'll never hear that one. That's a good one, Ken. Let me...
That's probably why that's there, too.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna put y'all in no line
Oh,
order.
yeah.
I know what y'all need from me.
I didn't know what was going around.
It's whoever.
I
It's
raised my
whoever.
hand.
Yeah, go
How does
ahead,
it
man.
work?
Top 3 issues.
I mean, I'm going to just keep it real simple. I'm really tired of these potholes. Like,
Gretchen said she was gonna
Yeah.
fix the damn
It's-
road.
what's today's
But
date?
But she want to
They
charge
took
us
it
45
40
cents on our gas
But that's-
gas
I
tax in
mean-
order to be able to do it.
We
It's probably
should
not
slap
go
a
through
toll
this,
road right there when they get off that bridge from
Toll
Canada.
road.
Yes.
Oh, another toll road?
They
Yes.
might think about doing
With all
375
the
like
people
that,
coming
but it's
through.
proposed
Yes,
to
all the
375.
Wait
Semis
until the
from
medicinal
Canada.
sales come back
I
and you
heard
see.
They're gonna get rid of 375.
It's
They trying to
proposed.
put black bottom backs. Like, now let me stop.
Yes, edit that part.
You know, Ken not editing that.
You know, that's the plans I heard. I'm like, oh, they gonna put black bottom back. And who gonna split it or not? So, go ahead. Other issues, Lo. Fix
That's
them
just
damn
it.
roads.
Fix them roads.
Gretchen be
It's
saying.
coming, man.
That's
It's
what
coming.
Yeah, that's
Hey.
coming. That's definitely coming.
It's
Especially with all the medicinal tax they just got. They
Hey,
did
listen.
42 million in 4 months. or
Listen, this
3
all I'm gonna
months
say.
or whatever.
Yeah,
They
that's
legalized
From the
it.
medicinal marijuana.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah,
was in,
can that be used to fix the roads?
Absolutely, that's what it's
Yeah.
for. It's
It
for
could
the
be
cities
used
that
for a
have
lot
it.
of things.
yeah, they asked to the
Right.
overall general fund
Yeah.
balance.
Okay.
But I was just in LA in January, and I literally paid $4.89 for gas, so we're blessed.
Yeah.
True.
But a lot of people don't drive down there because they have a good transit system, like
Who?
public transit.
LA is not the best.
Yeah,
But
LA
like,
isn't a good
it was.
example. Yeah.
It's better than Detroit, I'm
It's
sure.
barely.
By far.
it's kind of it's kind of similar.
It might
It's
be
like
on
a smart
time,
bus,
but
yeah,
it might
it's
be
just-
on time, but it's way more packed, so the time way more spread out.
And their subway doesn't go everywhere. Their subway is kind of like our queue
Well,
line.
our buses don't
But like
go-
it's like
Yeah.
4 different queue
Yeah.
lines.
Queue line.
It's like 4
together.
They
Hey,
like,
I always
they
said
go
that. I'm
somewhere.
like, we should throw a queue line on every major thoroughway in the city. Just go crazy.
Just not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
I love to take the queue line from 6th and Southfield up to Teresa's.
Hey, no Dewey, no Dewey.
You get no again.
Top issues, y'all. What
Yeah,
else we
so
trying to
we're going
fix? So we
around.
got the roads. We need some transparency. What else we need?
So I'm not the most politically savvy, so I've been doing my research. You know, I vote, and then I'm a part of the problem. You know, I'm problematic. Write a think piece about me.
We all are.
But
We all are.
I am, but I do my best to be able to educate in the midst of the causes and things that I'm involved with in my life. And one thing that I know I am passionate about, that I'm trying to learn more about how to be more involved effectively, are a lot of the people who get incarcerated for these really, really small crimes and are spending a majority amount of their time for things such as like marijuana possession, and even people who kind of get wrongly convicted and looking at like people who say rape and then were able to test years later and see that never happened. But those who made the accusation, nothing ever happens to them. So those are the things that I'm trying to research and learn more about, and how to be able to take a stand and talk to my legislators and policymakers and lawmakers to be able to understand how do we do some work in that area. I care about that a lot.
It's definitely a law politicking coming.
Yeah.
We talking all about mass incarceration. And for everybody that don't know, there's a $533 million Wayne County jail about to be built on Warren in 75.
Yeah.
And I ain't even trying to be crazy, but you know, y'all, Detroit's mans, Gilbert, got some hands in it. That's all I'm going to say.
That's true.
Is that the jail? Okay, what's happening to the jail that's downtown?
It's already
They-
been dug up.
Yeah, it's
Because
Because they
bad.
started and then they
Yeah,
stopped.
it's been
Living.
dug up.
Oh, that one. It's
Yeah.
been a land swap, from my understanding, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to
Yeah.
be some type of development plan that's coming. He owns that land now. Gilbert does. Throughout this, he got that land out of the land swap, and now the jail
So
is
they're
gonna
gonna
be
tear
placed.
it down, right?
I don't know all the
They-
legit. I just know
yeah.
that they doing something with it. It's gonna be
And
some
then
type
did
of
tax
development
dollars pay for that? Like, what is that? Like,
I mean, it's a Wayne County.
do I get a refund check?
I really.
Who do I speak with?
Right.
No, I'm for real. Who do I speak with? Like, if that's what we're talking about getting
That would be a
involved.
county swap. So I mean,
Okay.
you would have to talk to the Wayne County executive, because that would be like they made the swap with them.
Correct.
So we're gonna have to go home and figure out who your county commissioner is, because they sat on that
Yeah,
board
like,
to
Girl,
vote.
we got our phones right here.
And even when you're having those conversations, how do I have it effectively so I'm not just another angry person standing in line?
Don't be
Yelling at somebody
angry.
who's not
Absolutely.
listening.
Don't be
Absolutely.
angry. Ask questions.
Great question.
Don't be angry.
But it's
Ask
Ask
the right
emotional.
questions.
It's emotional.
No.
That's the hard part for
see,
me. I
See,
gotta
see,
take my
see,
emotions
see.
out.
Yeah.
It's
See,
business.
just ask questions. As long as you ask the question, you got to get an answer.
But what happens when I get an answer that?
That you don't like. That's what it is.
You know?
Yeah,
So-
you gotta keep
Yeah.
fighting for
So
what
then
you want.
So then you ask another question.
Or an answer that doesn't really answer the question. Because, you know, sometimes...
Or insults my intelligence,
Exactly.
you know.
So then
Figure out how to get that person up
So-
out of there if they
no,
can't
no, no.
answer your questions.
Then you
properly.
ask them. Then you just ask them. If you cannot answer this, who can I go to that knows the answer to this? And they got to give you a name.
It looks real calm, but that ain't how it goes.
And I know he ain't not handling it like this.
But no,
But you have to ask the
but that's how I
question. Just
ask
ask
it.
and answer. And then, especially if you really want something, you send an email, get it in writing, show up at the next meeting with that email that you sent. Like, I was expecting a response from you in this manner, and you would embarrass them publicly. That's way more than anything else you could say.
And again, if they ain't giving us no answers, you don't belong in that spot.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, because we not holding them accountable, you don't know who should and shouldn't be in these positions, and they
Absolutely. 'Cause
hold
you don't know
on
what
to
they
them
jobs
forever.
are or
Exactly.
anything. So
Exactly.
it's, one thing I wanted to talk about with the election piece, it was a older lady. She was probably like 51 that ran in my district. She beat out the incumbent and spent under $1,000. She only did like phone calls to a few people and won that seat over the incumbent in that spot. So I voted for her just off of the strength that I
she
didn't like
was.
the other person.
Oh,
I
it
didn't
was
had
a
no
black
idea.
woman,
Yeah, it was a
right?
black
I
woman,
remember
Betty
she-
Jean Alexander.
Yeah.
So she's a state rep now. She was like catching the bus. She was working a job, and she ran for office just as
Well, I
like.
think I heard of her.
I
Because she
seen
didn't.
that too. I seen
Yeah.
that.
That's boss.
So I mean that's the power of politics though. So you know
It
what
sure
I'm saying?
is.
You really gotta reaffirm your position, and really
Sure.
if you dedicated, it's possible. Seriously.
All right, we got some issues on the my left side of the table. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How we feeling? What issues matter to us?
Well, with me, of course, it's always going to be black home ownership, just increasing the black home ownership rate. As of recently, Detroit, which was one of the largest black home ownership rates across the nation at one point, we just recently flipped to majority renter.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that that's a coincidence, considering we had some of the largest foreclosure rates within the whole country when we were going through that. So, increasing the black home ownership rate is very important. And then with my organization, increasing voter awareness, that's another one that's important. And then not only just increasing voter awareness, but making sure that we have avenues in different ways to hold politicians accountable. So we're not just going up to the meetings as one voice. We need to go up there as one strong voice, a whole fist. So we're working on different organizing efforts so that we can be on one accord, have a list of demands, what it is that we want from the politicians and stuff. Because when you're more organized, of course you can make more things happen than if it's just you by yourself doing things. Yeah. And then, of course, with DPSCD, just making sure that our kids have the best education. also, because I know that there's a lot going on there too.
Excuse me. What is DPSCD?
Detroit Public Schools Community District. So once DPS closed, they still in debt. So they've combined now DPS EAA back into one jointed school, and now it's Detroit Public Schools Community District.
Basically, not
Yeah.
Detroit Public
But you
Schools.
know what, though, with the Detroit Public Schools Community District, just because, since I've graduated and moved back home, I've been in different capacities and just
You got to
being
look that
able
one up.
to work with the schools. I think what the schools honestly are lacking is our involvement.
Absolutely.
And I think that if millennials, if we just start being stronger as alumni or just coming out and being present, asking questions, with the reason, outside of the school structure, we could talk about curriculum. That's nationwide. We need to just figure out education reform in general. But I think that we're in a space where these young folks don't see it, so they can't believe it. And I think that a lot of us are in places and spaces that we can give them a new imagination, and we can really be big brothers, big sisters, mentors, however you call it, and really tapping into their lifestyles and what they're doing. Because I do see it's a different kind of receptiveness when we in a building, or when they see somebody young doing something great and got something going for themselves. They give them some type of spark versus these people who keep coming in with new programs and attached to a name or a corporate donor or whatever that looks like in the schools. It's just a different kind of receptiveness. So I definitely think that with DPSCD. Issues.
I would like to piggyback off your topic, and like you saying, Kenya, like your program, the kinship, we need a hub here downtown with those resources where they're accessible, because we shouldn't have to go out to the suburbs to make sure our kids have better education or entertainment, make sure everything is there under one resource. And as millennials, our greatest tool is our cell phone technology. It doesn't take maybe an hour out your time or 2 hours every other week to check in with the mentees, see how they're doing. Mentorship is definitely the answer as far as us building and generational wealth. It goes hand in hand, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Wait, let me add something to that. I like that because today I was hearing something on the Breakfast Club this morning. They were talking about how Kylie Jenner just got named, Forbes just named her the first or youngest billionaire.
Oh, yeah.
So it's crazy because people are asking,
Self-made.
is she self-made? What is self-made? Everybody needs the knowledge or needs the help, the expertise from somewhere else, even if it's $1, whether it was you got Haddish and Kevin Hart, talking about the money they owe back and forth, so it's everywhere where someone helps someone do something. So it is, mentorship is definitely key.
And it definitely should go across. We can mentor each other. And it bothers me so much in the city. It's I was talking to my family about this recently, about this idea, because I'm really big on generational wealth building and just being there and taking on what it is we do have, because we do have things that we can nurture and make better in our lives that people just let go. Most of these, older folks, our ancestors, had these homes, had this stuff. Ain't nobody want to take that junk over because we lazy and we always got an excuse. And it's we don't even understand the type of wealth we really have in our communities because nobody is taking on to that. But it's just this idea that we shouldn't be starting from scratch. And just like how we feel like we shouldn't necessarily be starting from scratch because the resources is there, people just real stingy. I be damned if these youth have to start from scratch. They should be starting up on the top, and that's the difference that separates us from other communities.
I would say not stingy, but uneducated. We just were robbed of certain education.
I'm talking about our community being
Yeah.
stingy
Even-
in a
even
certain
just
way.
But it's more so
Their
opportunity
knowledge.
to stun on somebody than it is to lift them up on the same platform as you. And
Uplift. People don't know really what uplift is, unless you have actually been through the struggle and went and did something to have something to say, I have something to show for something else. Other than that, it's crab eat crab. You know what I'm saying? How do I get on the top of the next
But why
person?
does it have to be like that?
I feel like in a city that has such rich Black history and success stories, we can't say that nobody knows what it means to uplift people, because that's not true.
There
I just
are
think
people
some
doing it.
people just
It's people out here
not
doing it.
It's
I'm
not
not
widespread enough to actually have the impact that we're looking forward to seeing.
Yes.
So you know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of using the research, because we definitely have the talent in our city. Forbes is coming here for the 30 under 30 because we have an immense number of talented people in the city doing big things that just haven't put it all together to become this Justice League of Black excellence, if you will. So it's a matter of really just getting our talents together and really organizing to have the direct impact and specific impact that we need to have in our communities. And that's really what's missing from the whole conversation, is that we're not
connecting,
best using our resources that we have available.
And it's challenging to do that too. I feel
Absolutely.
because the people that are
'cause
making the
people are-
moves, you kind of have to have a tunnel vision in order to be able to meet certain deliverables and be able to get the work done. So you're not necessarily aware of what somebody else may be doing to even reach out. I know that's been one of my things, and just trying to make sure that I'm more accessible, even though I don't have a lot of time, but still just trying to, be available for things like this, being available to be able to support people in other projects in that way, just to be able to let them know that I exist, so that we can potentially collaborate on something I can support, or I can even be recognized for some of the work that I've been doing too. But it's hard to do that. Even what you were saying, Kenyon, of us going back into the schools as like the millennials being active, like that's a job. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like that's, it's like when I have a job, and then I also have my extracurriculars and causes that I
and you still want to be a millennial.
Have fun,
I
social life.
I still gotta flex. So like when do I do that additional work to make that
and people
difference?
like me would be like, hey, this should be a part of my job. I should have some type of professional development where you send me to my high school and I can go and talk to the young folks.
I am doing that. I am learning how to use my professional development.
Seriously though.
I think you incorporate that. I mean, I think you're a good example. I mean, you help kids and then you teach volleyball at the same time.
It's
But
not
one thing,
easy.
but I didn't say it was easy. But this is where we start from. I mean, if we start with our younger generation, we're able to mold their minds quicker and faster than the people that's already out here. I mean, a lot of older people that I work with, especially doing with finance, especially taxes now. It's tax season. A lot of older people I deal with, it's like, oh no, I know I'm supposed to get this much money back, but you don't know what just changed with the tax laws. Like, I mean, if you're not understanding and keeping up with education portions of things, like how would you really understand what's going on? So you're in a perfect position. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is basically, adding what you do or adding into your job what you feel like you need to try to change is what I say try to find.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been looking for, is more so what can I do to still help people and still make the change. And then if somebody want to pay me for it, go ahead.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Because it's something I still love to do. So.
And it's funny you say that though. Just piggybacking off what you said, we need to be present and be in the schools and show the youth, it is people out here that are living what they're teaching. Just from my standpoint, it's very hard being a young black millennial in these schools, dealing with these parents and these.
Oh, we ain't even talk about
teachers.
No.
And
You stand with us.
And I mean, everybody love their baby, but let me tell you about your baby, So just for me being present and me giving a lot of time, because I do give a lot of time to being in those schools and giving those girls those opportunities, I come across a barrier. It's like a wall. Like, you don't know, and I don't have children. God forbid, don't have kids at almost 27. Like, Jesus, what's wrong with you? So I'm hitting the wall dead end, and it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. I'm trying to express to them, well, I remember 16 probably very more clear than you know what I'm saying? So, and I remember what I needed and what I didn't have, and those opportunities that I should have. But it's very challenging, especially working full time and doing that. And one thing, this is just a problem I didn't mention earlier, but I just really, how can I put this so I don't offend anyone? But I am really trying to incorporate in our community the female athletes, because we see football 24/7. Nothing against football, I love it. We see basketball 24/7, and most of our public eye athletes, we always hear about a male. So I'm really big on bringing in the women athlete, because we can be athletes as well, and
Absolutely.
it's phenomenal. So that's one of the things I'm trying to incorporate in this city of Detroit. We have here.
Hear that? Any more issues? I think we didn't get Rod issue.
Oh, yeah.
What you mad about?
Pretty much.
Right.
He's so
What am I
chill.
not mad about?
You hear me?
Period.
So it's all about, containing it and understanding where you can play your role and make a difference. The biggest thing that's really like on my mind is like criminal justice reform, definitely. So you know what I'm saying? It's people that are in jail for something that is truly legal right now in the same jails. We could walk down the street and somebody is in a jail.
Or have felonies.
Exactly. And people are that's really the biggest thing for me, is really getting that addressed. And the way to do that, it starts with your politicians, you know what I'm saying? It sounds repetitive, but you have to get those people in a position where they understand that they're accountable to you. So,
Yes.
writing them letters, sometimes it can seem a bit threatening. Like, you have to be a little bit, like, intimidating to them. Like, you know, I know sending a letter with some letterhead really gets people's attention, and they will call you back. Like, oh, please
see my boss on here.
And if you don't answer, they will leave you a message.
and beg and plead you to, you know, see things their way. And you can ultimately mold them to what you need them to do in their position. So you have to understand what they're capable of before you can, you know, utilize them to make the thing happen. So there's multiple people that are accountable in each step of the process, and it's really just what I'm trying to do is simplify it so people can understand what people's job roles are. So I've been working on that for like 2 years. It's like trying to do
major.
Like, because it should be an app. You should know exactly where your tax dollars are going. Like, you should be able to pull it up
right there.
exactly. So that's really what needs to happen. That's really my biggest thing, is just making transparency and criminal justice reform top priority.
Go data Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. They got data for everything now. And the fact that we don't have something that's accessible for our tax dollars that we spend thousands of dollars on, and we just, okay, they said it's going here today, the roads, looks good. Like, no. It should be like, this contractor got this much money to do this, and this is the project that they're assigned to. So if it's not done right, we could go back and get that contractor for the responsibilities that they should have been upheld to.
Oh, they got those.
Oh, I know, but it should be like.
Everybody should be.
It should be.
Oh,
I know.
That's the word.
They should send me a
got
text.
those.
I know. Accessibility.
I need to text
Look,
calling me about
I be
some
looking at them like,
Wait a minute.
where the O&M at?
Yeah.
One of the things, though, that I think is so important for people to know, and why I think I'm so excited to be launching PoliticKen during this time, is just that Detroit is changing drastically.
Absolutely.
People don't even understand. Like, I was just talking to somebody even around this idea about, like, the education system. And I know, like, with my job, I've been able to be hands-on in the high schools because it's a nonprofit and it works in schools. But people don't realize that for the last decade or two, foundations, nonprofits, corporate, that's who's been building the city. It hasn't been our politicians. It hasn't been the people, for real. It's been the money. And I think that we're now in a position where you finally have a planning and development department where you're not going to see too many more midtowns happening where a nonprofit organization came together and was like, look, we about to put our resources together and we about to make it happen. Like, those type of things we're now seeing, even with DPSCD. We're finally seeing now changes happening with them. You know what I'm saying? As far as we revamped the whole leadership. Foundations now have a lesser role to play in that, because you actually have these spaces that are being held accountable. Right. And so being able to understand now that our city is kind of changing in that format, now we can know who to hold accountable. I think for a long time, nobody knew who to hold to become because it wasn't possible, okay?
So I would like to touch on that piece. Like, before, now I guess I'll say where I work. I work at the Detroit Land Bank Authority, and I was a paralegal. We were doing nuisance abatement lawsuits. That's where we sue property owners who aren't taking care of their properties to get them to enter into an agreement to fix the property up. So essentially, the records that we had is like paper records. When I first started at the land bank, it was 1,500 properties that we own. Today we own about 94,000 properties in the city of Detroit. So it's a matter of, once you understand the like, this didn't happen overnight, and it's going to be a process to build it up. But it's been 5 years. You couldn't have told me 5 years ago that everything that has happened would have happened this fast. You know, I would have thought it would have been 10 to 15 years down the line. Things are happening really quick in the city of Detroit. We've always been the national example of how things go in the country. So what we're doing now is setting the precedent for how urban development will be done across the country.
Say that again, please. Say that again, please, Rob.
Everything we're doing now is shaping how urban development will be done in this country. So.
And internationally, because they watching us across.
Listen, we had a meeting with some people from Tokyo came in and asked us about, how are we dealing with our land issues, because they, are having similar issues in Japan. So
I have an intern from Seoul, Korea right now.
Exactly.
So.
Who y'all think buying some of these properties? One of my close friends is be doing like interior. I'm like, oh, these houses nice. They like, these some Asians own these. I'm like, dang, it's blocked.
But they've been doing that. They've been buying them for $1 unseen. Never come see the property. They buy it like,
I know we almost there, but public-private partnerships is key, man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Private money will drive change, and then our public entity should shape the change that we want to have. Because in public public sector, you're really limited by government funding or state funding or whatever else. And then at the end of the day, you know, you have these private companies coming in and doing stuff, just like we have the autonomous vehicles down here, man. You know, you start that in one place to show that it can do something else. So.
Yep. Man, it's been awesome. Before we get up out of here, I do want to make sure that everybody get a little plug, because I want people to know who I got at the table, because I don't mess with regular people. It's like, no, let me stop.
See, that's
But
the
I
problem.
do think, but I do think it's so important, because again, like we've been touching on it through this whole conversation. We got the resource, we got the knowledge, we got, you know, like we can really start putting, if we can start putting this together and becoming more collective, we can go out, and y'all can come help me right now build up 6 Mile Southfield, because I'm dedicated.
That's my hood.
I'm dedicated
Pre-boss.
to making sure we revamp. So I do want to do a little go around the table, introduce yourself, let people know who y'all are, give a plug if you got something coming up. You know, let the audience know. Who's shooting it off? I'm gonna say Ken, because we Ken.
All right, man. Bet it up. All right, man. Thank you for having me again, Ken. I appreciate this for real. I'm Ken Hall. I actually live in Lansing now. I'm originally from Detroit. I work for an agency called Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. I'm a land use planner. Like I said, we oversee 3 different counties of regional planning across the board, from economic development, transportation, so forth, so on. But my real hat that I like to promote in pub is what I've taken a step out to try to start building for myself, my own brand, K Hall Enterprises. Right now it's a financial literacy and education brand that I am now building. My main 2 services are tax education, so taxes or anything preparing, foreseeing. You know, I have clients that make $1,000 and I have clients that make $500,000. But at the end of the day, you know, you will need different services at different times. And K Hall Enterprises is an education brand that I'm actually trying to get into schools and learn how to start teaching some of our kids some different things. So my thing is any tax questions, money questions that you have, definitely hit me up. And you can be able to find me. Actually, I'm just say call Ken.
My phone about to be blowing up.
I'm not really the direct person. I like to have an in between. So you know, hit up Ken. Let's get something cracking.
I'm the plug.
Yeah, network building. That's what we call it. Network building.
Hey everybody, I'm Lauren. Again, I am a volleyball coach for a school in Detroit. I'm not going to disclose it. And I am also a new co-owner of an AAU team, which is owned by 2 black women, millennials. So we are having an event next week. It's a fundraiser for the team, so we can have all the resources that kids in the city of Detroit don't usually get. So which is very expensive. But if you go on Eventbrite, it's called Volleyball in the City. It is a adult tournament.
I'm going to be on one of them teams with Law. We about to take the championship.
So it's going to be really fun and
Can
funny.
guys play?
Yes, absolutely. But if you want to come out, it's $5 pre-sale tickets, $7 at the door. And if you can't make it, you can donate through that link as well.
Check us out. Coming back.
Bring it back, CT Days, you know.
You hear me?
Hey everybody, what up though? My name is Benjamin Williams, also known as Ben Will in these streets. By day, I work with the Healthy Kids team at the United Way for Southeastern Michigan, working to decrease childhood nutritional risks within the Tri-County area, so I feed the babies. By night, I am the producer, curator, and host of the Motor City Singer Space, and we are an event series that has the mission to destigmatize the conversation of mental health within the arts and African-American communities. Wow. Our events are somewhat like a variety hour, so think like the Carol Burnett Show, think like a Sonny and Cher mixed with like kind of Russell Simmons presents Def Jam poetry. Yeah, that's kind of like what what it is. So each event is themed. So we have really dynamic performers come and sing cover songs within that theme. And within the show, we have what we call the mental health moment, where we work with mental health professionals who share different resources in a very kind of tactful and approachable way, so that it doesn't feel like it's like icky or to remove that stigma, so we can actually have this conversation within our community. Our next event is going to be on Friday, April 5th. The theme is The Wonderful World of Disney. We're going to be singing all types of Disney songs, and tickets are currently available at our website, motorcitysings.com. They start at $20. If you want to get a chicken dinner, you can pay $27 in advance, or you can pay $30 at the door. It's always a good show. Kenyon came to the last one. She can vouch for me.
Yes.
We really do a good job within our team. Come through. It's going to be a good time. Friday, April 5th, MotorCitySings.com.
Yeah, I got to go to they Black History Month show, and the mental health pieces around the drums, and I was up in there. I was fasting during the time, so I couldn't eat the chicken. But let me tell you, this was a very strong Kenya that night because the chicken was just aromatized through the whole building. I said, goodness
So the
gracious.
ancestors were supporting you in your fast. And
For sure was.
and all the mental health moments are different. So as Kenya said, the last one we did, like African drumming, before we've actually had like licensed social workers come, we have had psychiatrists come. I've told my own testimony of overcoming a suicide attempt in 2011. So we really, really don't try to avoid the tough topic of mental health, suicide prevention within the series. We're also having a good time with the music.
That's key.
Well, everyone, I'm Courtney. I also go by Coco. My cousin, Kenya, she's been an advocate in the city since we were like middle school, doing big things, getting everyone together. So I'd like to congratulate her. And nice to meet all of you.
Right, a little bit. I ain't do it. I'm humble.
Yes. I do a lot of PR for a lot of nonprofits, entertainment, arts, and fashion industries here in the city. I'm also starting a podcast called Multitask, where we collaborate with other moms, millennial moms here in the metro area. We basically give resources and just a support group here in their city. I have an event March 24th. You guys could pull up. It's a free event. It's a mix and mingle network producers panel with Helava, Ant Beats, Nick Speed, and it's at 313 right in the Fashion District. So, you guys could come network, have a little.
What time?
It's actually 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And yeah, I'm always working with other nonprofits, so we're looking to have a series of events with the youth in the city as well. Basically, to keep our arts and entertainment here in the city, to give back to everyone.
Shoot, she shouted me out.
You have a website?
My Instagram is COCOXPR at that's my Gmail as well, COCOXPR@gmail.com. Podcast at Multitask on Instagram. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Just to know a lot of these events, because I be watching Cuz all the time. She be behind the scenes on a lot of this stuff that's moving and shaking in the city. So just know Cuzos be doing our thing.
Okay, Cuz.
All right, y'all.
All right, real quick, my name is Rodney Wilson. I'm the Deputy Director of Community Affairs at the Detroit Land Bank Authority. If you pull up the website, you'll see my face. So go to buildingdetroit.org, buy property. Ownership is key. That's pretty much it.
Yes.
All right, peace, love, and real estate, everybody. My name is Kiera Stafford. I'm also known as Professional Realtor on Instagram. I'm a real estate agent. I help people buy, sell commercial real estate, as well as residential real estate. I'm also executive director and co-founder of New Era Detroit, and we do a lot of stuff in the community. We have Elite Young Kings and Elite Young Queens program. We just kicked off our 4th cycle inside of Madison Carver Elementary School.
Amen.
And then our next event coming up actually is our Queens Council of New Era Detroit event. So we'll be having a women's wellness event, which is going to be April 7th. We're going to have trap meditation, yoga.
Trap meditation.
Yes.
Out of town, that sounds so fun.
Yes, it's called New Moon Who Dis. So tickets are $10. We'll have panel guests, black business vendors as well. So you guys can check out our Instagram, New Era Detroit, to find out more information about that.
Okay.
Man, this has been a great kickoff premiere of season 2. I just want to thank y'all for joining me. For the audience, make sure y'all tune in on Facebook Live. PoliticKen Out is PoliticKenOWT. I had to think about it because I added the out on PoliticKen because for some reason my name wouldn't accept. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at PoliticKen, same spelling. Thank y'all again for joining me, and make sure y'all tune in. We'll be back in 2 weeks.